And here, setting the scene, this is just showing how units are introduced. So each of our unit begins with a setting the scene, which is a modern example, an exciting example. And I just wanted to show you this, that we're using visible thinking routines for these. So the idea that students make a claim based on some stimulus material, they support that with evidence, and then they can develop some additional questions for those. And those visible thinking routines are used for lesson starters, but also in unit reviews at the end of each chapter. So each of our lessons begins with some stimulus material, which might be a visual, it might be a video, it might be a graph or a source of data, or it might be even an applicable quote from an expert. And the students often have to analyze that visual and ask some questions about it, or suggest some reasons for something that they see. And this might be on a topic they may not have studied before, because it's the introduction to the lesson. And then throughout the lesson, there may be some references back to that lesson starter stimulus, where now they can confirm their suggestions or answer the questions that they developed when they first saw that. We also have tried to address fieldwork as much as possible. So each unit has at least one example of fieldwork. And we know realistically that having a lesson on fieldwork is not enough to then go and do a field trip. But hopefully this opens up the planning of a field trip and a collaboration between the teacher and the students. And so there's some examples for relevant topics, some examples of some research questions that could either be the focus for an entire class or for a group of students, some examples of hypotheses that could be used, some examples of the types of primary data that could be collected, and ways in which some of that data could be presented. One big focus of the skills that we've taken on with this series is the concepts and skills builder. So every lesson features a concepts and skills builder, which is a unique skill related to the content and applied to the content. So rather than having a geographer's toolkit type chapter at the start of the textbook, we've tried to incorporate this where it's actually being applied. So here's some examples just from the Year 7 Water in the World. And we have some content-specific skills such as classifying resources or evaluating a management strategy. We've got some numeracy-based skills such as interpreting bar graphs or segmented bar graphs or line graphs. We've got some traditional geographical skills, I guess, such as describing spatial association. And we've also got some more modern skills using geographical information systems and other geospatial skills. And the idea is that these increase in complexity through the year levels, and also that throughout a unit, they may also, once the skill has been presented in an earlier lesson, in a later lesson, there may be a throwback to that particular skill when it's being applied. Each of these skills has some instructions, and they've also got some instructional videos. And so here's an example of a digital tool. In this particular skills builder, it gives students some explanation on what a scatter plot is and how to analyze data using a scatter plot. And then there's a little 3 to 5 minute video with instructions on how to access the digital tool, manipulate data, play around with different variables. In this case, have a look at the distribution of different data. So I haven't got the sound turned on here, but there is a screencast style video, that the sort that students would be used to seeing on something like YouTube, that has all the instructions. So the teacher, we would recommend, would watch these as well and learn before the lesson, but they could also be set as an independent thing for students to teach themselves those skills. Here's an additional example about using satellite imagery and creating a GIS map using Google Earth Pro. So here, for example, students learn how to trace polygons onto a satellite image to analyze land use and having a look at the distribution of land uses. This is a particularly good video because it also shows students how to add a title and a legend to their map and an orientation and a scale. And this is the sort of skill that won't just be used in lesson 14.7 in year 8, but it's a sort of skill that students will develop and be able to use year 9 and year 10. And even if they study geography at VCE level, this is certainly a skill that they can bring with them and add to their toolkit. Here's just one more example of using a geographic information system for, this is for census data, which is accessed from the Australian Bureau of Statistics website. So once again, this is students using real data, and in this case, they're having a look at the different methods that people use to travel to work in different parts of Melbourne. So this is commuting by train, and they'll analyse that data and draw some conclusions to compare inner and outer suburbs and different regions of Melbourne. And this is from the Year 10 textbook. So this is an increasing complexity. In this case, they're having a look at closing the gap targets. This is the gap in life expectancy between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. And students are prompted to draw a line of best fit, and then to actually forecast this data to determine whether the gap is likely to be reduced or whether it's on target, and suggest what more might need to be done by governments to try and close that gap. And I want to show you this example for some of the more traditional geographical skills, such as analysing a climate graph. We've employed some excellent geography teachers to make some excellent videos, some really entertaining videos showing students how to do these skills. And I'll just show you a short excerpt of this one.
Welcome back to Geography Explained online.
For Cambridge.
I'm Sammy.
I'm Stez.
And today we're going to be looking at climate graphs.
I love climate graphs. They're so easy to understand.
They're so great because they combine data really well. We've got column graphs going up.
And then we've got a line graph going over the top. Like
and they tell us so much about a place. So let's get into it and look at some climate graphs.
Looking forward to it.
So you can certainly see how they can be applied in the classroom, or even if you're absent for a lesson. Really engaging modern videos, really designed for the year level in mind in terms of complexity and length. They'll be really useful for each lesson, as well as having review questions, typical comprehension questions, data analysis questions, debate style questions. We also included for each lesson at least one research and/or extension question. And so this is when you can use this to differentiate your classes. You can use them to extend the lessons if there's a particular topic that students enjoyed and you want to turn one lesson into two. This can help do that. Some of them add extra complexity and debate. Some of them also link to external resources. So in this one, for example, links to the Melbourne Water website for their Target 150 campaign. There's one about debating the use of cloud seeding or the management of water in the Murray-Darling Basin. And then this is a link to a little tool called River Runner Global, where students can track the movement of water through a landscape. So some really good, these are not just things we chucked in at the end. A lot of thought went into these, and they're a really important part of the lesson, and hopefully really useful for teachers.